I pause to welcome the presidential aspirant of the Nigerian Labour Party. The presidential candidate of the Nigerian Labour Party. Okay. I also welcome the presidential candidate for the Action Alliance political party. I was in the middle of almost finishing my speech, speaking to why we have invited you here, Your Excellencies, and I was at the point where I was saying, we need your courage to live up to the commitments you will be making to us today. We also have agreed here that we are not going to go away with the lip service of I will take women in my cabinet. No, we want more concrete actions that we can follow through and take to the bank with you. We would want you to also ensure that your legislature is one that is conscious of its role for policy and legislation, appropriation money to bring life to those policies and to those legislations, as well as oversight. We expect them to look around and ensure that what you committed today is done, what they've given you money to bring life to those policies is done, and that Nigerian women will hold you accountable. I was closing with the statement to the effect that we are not only speaking to you as our presidential aspirants, we are also speaking to all Nigerian men. We are speaking to that husband who is a responsible family head, who supports his wife, who supports his daughter, who educates his daughter. We are speaking to that uncle who will not abuse his daughter out of distrust. Incest has become something in this country. We are looking at that brother who does not lord it over my sister or his sister to say, you wash the dishes. He can do it. We are also looking forward to you living up to those ethos of responsible leadership. Leadership is the bane of Nigeria, I beg to say. Am I right, ladies? We want leaders who will commit and deliver. We want leaders who also are conscious that they will be losing if they don't include 50% of the population of the nation. And those are women and youth. So with these few remarks, and as honored to chair the 2022 Voice of Women Conference, I yield to Nigerian women to ask our presidential aspirants to deliver. With that, I want to welcome once again everyone to this conference. I hope it will be something we can take to the bank, we can take to the market, and we can take everywhere at the end of the day. May God be and bless this country. Thank you very much.
Can we continue with the applause until she's seated? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, while her speech was on, I know she quickly acknowledged the arrival of two of our presidential candidates, Major Hamza Al-Mustapha, retired, of the Action Alliance, and Mr. Peter Obi of the Labour Party. Can we please give them a rousing welcome? Thank you. Thank you. Well, she's mentioned most of the problems women are facing, and we'd actually be telling an incomplete story by not highlighting how women bear a heavier burden in this entire crisis. The gender pay gap still exists. Women are still the major victims of gender-based and domestic violence. Our women and young girls, unfortunately, still face harassment in the workplace and schools. Well, in line with the general elections kicking off in February, we're here to spotlight some of the issues women have continually faced, and we're here to reiterate our commitment to solving these problems. We're here to ensure that the candidates have listened and hear what their plans are in addressing the demands of women. We'll quickly move on now to take a few remarks. And I'd like to most respectfully call on Mary Omoyeme Musa of the MON Foundation to give us just 3 minutes remarks. Let's welcome her. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. With profound humility and respect to everyone seated here, distinguished, I would love to stand on the existing revered protocol. My name is Miriam Moyeme Musa, and I am the founder of the Mom Enabled Foundation. And what we do, thank you, and what we do is we advocate for the vulnerable group. That's including women, children, and then persons with disabilities. I am a legal practitioner, I'm a human resource practitioner, and I'm a humanitarian. Thank you. Today, I stand here to represent a group of people that have been least represented in political spaces. I stand here to represent a group of people that have been long marginalized. I stand to represent a group of people whose resources, human capital, have been undertapped for many years. And we are here to say that no more are we going to believe in paper policies. We want our policies to be translated and transposed into performance. For too long, young women with disabilities have suffered sexual harassment in the hands of people because we are trying to secure employment. Political participation, of course, has sidelined us because the people do not believe in us. But how can the people believe in us if the government doesn't provide the enabling environment for us to thrive? So we are here to ask our excellencies what plans they have for us strategically. We are not talking about rice and beans, tea and bread. We're talking about strategic needs. Needs that are going to set foundations for us and make us independent. We are tired of being at the mercy of randy men who take us as a piece of property or a piece of meal because we are dependent on them. It is time for the Disability Act in Nigeria to be implemented. We profoundly thank the current government for finally passing it in 2019. But we all know here that it's one thing to pass a law. To implement it is another thing. The transition grace is going to expire by December next year or January 2024. But up until now, we are yet to see public buildings modified to allow for access for those on our wheelchairs. We are yet to see brailles on our buildings so that those who do not see can see through their fingers. We are yet to enter government agencies and see 5% representation of the staff strength as provided in the Disability Act. We know, we have heard, that the greatest nations regarding disability is not America with all its grandeur. It's not even the Britain. We know that and that's why we say that the biggest nation is our imagination. Are you ready to take us through what we have imagined? Thank you for having me.
She might be physically, visually impaired, but her insight goes into infinity. Her words are framed in poetry, her mind built in logic, and her essence is wonderful. Can we put our hands together for our ladies and gentlemen? We want to also welcome here from the YPP, Ibrahim Abdul Malik. We welcome you.
The Women Radio Center, first female academy established to equip female journalists with relevant knowledge and tools to carry out investigative reporting on issues that affect women. In August 2022, the Women Radio Center opened its doors to its first set of fellows, 20 female journalists from Nigeria's 6 geopolitical zones. The 20 were selected from a pool of 813 applicants from Nigeria and 9 applicants from outside Nigeria.
Good afternoon, my name is Tobi Awodipe and I am a fellow of the Women Radio Center class of 2022, and I'm thankful for the opportunity that this training offered to me, and I would ensure that my reports and features reflect more investigation into stories that affect the lives of women and use in-depth analysis with more data in telling my stories in line with what I learned during the training. Thank you very much.
The 20 committed journalists had a one-week residential intensive training from a faculty of industry experts led by Dr. Suleiman Yaradua of Bayero University, Kano. Faculty include Deji Bademosi, founder of TV360 Nigeria, Fisayo Shoyombo of Foundation for Investigative Journalism, Haruna Mohammed of Wiki Times, Moturayo Alaka of Wale Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism, Juliana Francis of Eagle Online, Dr. Rukoya Aliyu of Bayero University, Dr. Rahimat Adeniro of Lagos State University, Dr. Adama Adamu of Ahmadu Bello University, Adenike Aloba of DataFight, Lanre Arogondade IPC, and Dr. Dare Ogoyambo of Lagos State University.
A deliberate effort for me to be able to change the narratives, to be able to equip our women journalists with the right tools, with the right resources, and the right expertise to be able to continue to report and continue to hold power to account, but to also particularly focus on, women issues. If you talk about on the development in Nigeria, of course, you most of the times make reference with women. There are a lot of things, that is not going in the favor of our women, and I think the right people that are supposed to report on their issues, of course, are the women. So what the center is doing is extremely unique, and I believe over time, when the right resources and strategy are deployed, that center will be able to change the narratives around women, particularly women journalists who should be equipped, who should be passionate, and who should be mentored to be able to focus on adversarial journalism that holds power to account.
92% of the participants believe that the training materials provided were perfect and adequate for learning purposes. Grant tools were given to the Women Radio Fellows class of 2022 to support their work and research as they uncover unreported stories of corruption affecting women.
My name is Hadiza Yahya Abubakar. I'm a fellow of the Women Radio Center class 2022, and I am thankful and grateful for the opportunity. Before this training, I was skeptical about investigation, but with the knowledge I have now, I am prepared to unravel and uncover stories of corruption affecting women and children in the society. Thank you.
The Women Radio Center, supported by the MacArthur Foundation, is
Thank you very much. And so, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are getting closer to the point where we'll be listening to our presidential candidates on what they have for women. But there are a few rules we need to observe. One, we'll make it as orderly as possible. We should not influence our political leanings on the narrative here today. Let's just take notes and appreciate them so that we can hold them accountable.
Every day, a girl is broken.
On what will affect women. So, in order to get that going, let me welcome here to set the agenda and also do a presentation of the womanifesto Charter of Demands before our presidential candidates speak. Let me welcome here the Executive Director, Women Advocates, Research and Documentation.
Feminist Manifesto is a group of over 500 members from individuals, women-led and women-focused origination working across Nigeria to attain gender justice and gender equality. They build consensus and mobilize their members' collective experience to work on critical issues affecting women, to realize women's rights, equality between women and men in pursuit of social justice and a society devoid of discrimination. In 2019, over 1,000 individual women and women's institutions under the auspices of the Feminist Manifesto platform articulated a Charter of Demands by Nigerian women. The Charter of Demands is called womanifesto, which encapsulates some critical demands whose implementation is envisioned to hold the keys to an egalitarian Nigerian state where women and girls can maximize their potentials. The Charter of Demands are violence against women and girls, women's political participation, women and the economy, sexual and reproductive health rights, women, peace and security, human capital development, education, constitutional reform. As we build up to the 2023 elections, the issues of women's political participation in the midst of insecurity remains a daunting challenge that needs to be tackled. It is pertinent to hold a dialogue that will support coalescing the voices of women in governance, CSOs, academia, media, and autonomous women's groups in Africa and diaspora to develop a strategy to balancing the power equation in leadership. In addition, the conference would seek to address actions that will promote the gender bills that was recently voted against by National Assembly as during the Constitution review process, which aimed at using our apex law, the Constitution, to address certain issues affecting women and in so doing promote women's rights in relation to citizenship, indigenship, and political inclusion and participation. Against this backdrop, the Womanifesto Conference 2022 is anchored on these themes: gender, elections, integrity, and accountability, moving Nigeria towards a corruption-free election in 2023. In conclusion, Nigerian women will continue to press on for our demands for an inclusive society, evidenced by equity, social justice, accountability, good governance, increased participation, and proportional representation as guiding principles. Womanifesto, a charter of demands.
No women! No women, no retreat, no surrender. No retreat. Thank you very much. Presidential candidates, with due respect, Your Excellencies here present, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to speak on behalf of thousands of women organizations, women groups across the country. And I'm happy that here, seated here, we have women representing the 6 geopolitical zones of the country. They are representatives that were elected by civil society organizations and groups across the state. So I'm just starting here, at the mouthpiece of these great women. Some years back in 2019, we were very concerned about the state of women, and we came together. Yeah, however, before I do that, it becomes very important to create some kind of background to the presentation that I am making. Let me say, to us, this is a social accountability process, and it's very important to us. And we are going to hold the presidential candidates accountable to some of these issues. Why? Because as women in Nigeria, we are tired of playing the second-class position. Am I saying the truth? We are tired of being seen and not being heard. We want to be part of the decision making. We want to be on the table. As we speak today, we don't have that. If you look at the number of women who are candidates, they are far, far, far less than the number of men. In actual fact, we have a diagram which shows that in some states, we just have only about 5. For example, in Sokoto, we have just 5 women candidates. Can you imagine? In Kebbi, we have just 5. In FCT, we have 10. In Bauchi, we have about just 3. In Gombe, we have just about 17 women. So, meaning what it then means is that it becomes very important for us to re-strategize and bring our issues before the candidates that are running for 2023 election. Because as we said, no retreat, no surrender. We will not take from any other government. We will not take from any other government, you know, who will not respect us as women. Women must be respected in this country. We have talked enough. We have strategized enough. We have lobbied political parties. We have lobbied the government. We have seen that nothing in particular is really changing. And that's why we're standing here today. This engagement is very important to us. What Nigerian women want. And I will quickly go into that. We have talked about the issue of violence against women. We recognize that a lot of steps have been taken. We recognize that some states have been able to pass the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Law. But we are still saying that there are institutions which has to be established to protect women from further violence. So we are saying in your campaign, sirs, in your campaign, we want to see a reflection of this. And when you become the president, we also want you to support ensuring that women don't face the kind of violence that we are facing today, that there is zero tolerance to violence against women. Secondly, the issue of women political participation. We are embarrassed as a country. Look at Kenya. Look at South Africa. Look at Rwanda.
See microphone, see microphone.
Well, they said my time is up. Thank you very much. This has a summary of what we have. It has a summary of what we have. I would like you to please take another step and raise it up. This is what Nigerian women want. Is this what we want? Is this what we want? Honorable Minister, is this what we want? Please give them a round of applause. Thank you. Please consider it in your campaign. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. While she was speaking, the representative of Her Excellency the First Lady, the SSA Admin and Women Affairs, Dr. Rukayat Gurin, walked in. I welcome you. Thank you very much. Let me also welcome the Honorable Minister for Women Affairs, Dame Pauline K. Tarlin. I welcome you. And so, Your Excellency, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I understand that for every speaker there is a timer, and once your time is off, they'll fade you, which is why at that point, at some point, your sound will go. But because of the time and how busy our presidential candidates are, it's time to begin to take them. They have collected the agenda now. We can begin to hold them accountable from this minute onwards. So to kick off, let me welcome here former Governor of Anambra State, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi.
Her Excellency, the First Lady, and Your Excellency, the Minister, let me stand on all due and existing protocols and start by apologizing that I have to run away immediately. Had an engagement that I'm running to Traba, but when they say women are involved, I said I must be here. because I know what will happen to me at home if I don't go to this one. Let me most sincerely thank you for inviting me and everything. What we are doing, I've heard what you said about your agenda and everything. Nigeria is about to hire the next CEO of Nigeria, of the enterprise called Nigeria. And the only thing we have to sell, and I plead to you, mothers, because what we are going through today as a country, you will not believe it. Our country is collapsing. And you can save it. And you mothers are the ones that will suffer more if it goes wrong. I believe in the women. And I believe that you can save the country. So for me, if anybody is coming to tell you what he's going to do tomorrow, let's start from what he did yesterday. Let's look at his past. Look at where he's coming from. I have served in various ways in the corporate industry. And I want you to go and check my record there. But because of want of time, I want to talk about the way I work with women as governor. That's where we will start. I had a female deputy governor. My chief of staff is a woman. My commissioner for planning is a woman. Commissioner for local government is a woman. Commissioner for education, woman. Accountant general is a woman. Commissioner for finance is a woman. I can go on and tell you how I work with women. And I always say it, they are far more productive than men. When you talk about my success today as a governor, I will attribute it to those women. My head of service, they will not say no to me. You can't do this. Our children are involved. So for me, women are critical in this. If we want to get Nigeria to move, I think we have to surround ourselves with this 50% we are neglecting today. And I'm going to invest in it. They are not going to be there for just ordinary small, listen. I know with Ngozi Wala, alone this country would not have been where we are today. That woman was crying to all of us as governors, let's save the money we have in excess crude. It was saying us there will be a day like this, that if we allow her, but the governors will refuse and share that money. And that is where, look at where we are today. Today now, with all this flood and everything, it won't be surprised that soon a bag of rice will be 60,000 naira. That is 2 months minimum wage. There's no way any country, what we are going through today is cumulative effect of leadership failure with that. We are now about to pick a new leadership, and we must go beyond all those considerations of yesterday and think about the future of this country. And we cannot do it without you on the driving seat. We need to make a law. And that is one thing I want you to take from me. We must have a law in this country. Let's not talk about agreement. It should be a law giving women and youth a percentage in all electoral positions and every position in Nigeria, like it's in Bangladesh. Now Bangladesh is doing well today. Today Bangladesh is a country that is self-sufficient, almost in food. Bangladesh is #1 biggest exporter of textiles. I spent 2 weeks in Bangladesh. Go to rural areas. Out of about 10 million that is involved in textile business, 60% are women. If you go to the agriculture, it's the same thing. Rural women were doing wonderful work, supported. Because of it today, Bangladesh have less than 6% unemployment. Nigeria is 35% unemployment. That's why you have all this crisis. So I assure you that I will be committed, and I said, this is my past, which you can go and check, and then be able to determine in all of us what we are selling today is who can you trust? Who will do what he's saying? It's not enough for somebody to come here and say, I'll fight corruption. When the last place he left, everything was missing. You know, let him tell us how we left that place. I can say, I will fight corruption. And I've said it. The last place I went, I left money. And it's in banks in Nigeria. I left $150 million, and I left at something billion naira. And I was not owing anybody. All pensions, gratuity, and everything were cleared. So if anybody says, I'm going to do this, tell us what you did in the last place you passed. So we will trust you that when you get here, you will do the same thing. He's not telling us that I'll do this. There's too much promises here. My dear people, next year, the election, don't vote for me because I'm from the Southeast. Don't vote for me because I'm an Igbo man. Next year's election should not be based on tribe, ethnicity. They don't buy bread cheaper in the north. It should not be based on religion. No Christian buys bread cheaper. It should not be based on my tongue. It should not be based on anything. It should be based on character, we can trust, competence, capacity, and commitment to start changing Nigeria. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you very much. Can we put our hands together once again for the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi? We have heard he's been direct, loud. We've heard in person, on radio and television, so we can hold him accountable. Ladies and so we'll just quickly move on because we will shortly be making a switch. We're right now on live television, TVC. We'd like to call on the candidate of the Action Alliance, Hamza Al-Mustapha, to tell us what he has in store, his plans for the women of Nigeria if elected.
Your Excellency, the First Lady, ably represented, Honorable Minister of Women Affairs, distinguished senior daughters and leaders across Nigeria, ladies and gentlemen, I wish this subject, being a very serious matter, women would consider increasing some more minutes. It is critical for your life. It is critical for Nigeria at this point in time. We shall be inching into a new world order. We cannot continue to now be seen to be trading in yesterday's routine. There is the saying before I start, and I will rush, is to say that from the history of mankind, at all times material, when a country or a society refuses to understand that when modernity comes, all keys cannot open the doors of life of any given country. Modernity requires modern key if you must live. With this, I will also wish to say that in the new world order, it is not your qualification, but your skills that matters. We want our women to be invested upon. We want our women to operate at home and operate outside. And lastly, these three statements are the guiding factor of my speech. We took time in Nigeria and outside Nigeria deliberately to know if we make promises, are we going to fulfill it? The promises we'll make to people without funds is just a smoke in the air that has no meaning. It's a very fundamental matter. We spend years and months investigating what makes Nigeria and what we can do, away from oil, away from gas. Now, ladies and gentlemen, with all sense of humility, I tell you, any promise by any person outside creativity and the knowledge to create wealth from outside Nigeria and inside Nigeria. Lofty ideas can never take off unless you know how to make resources. We have for this country and for the next generation. And I'm happy for the depth of the researches we have done. We have gotten to know we can create trillions of dollars. It sounds fairy tale. I'm not saying trillions of naira. We can create trillions of dollars. And quote me. Quote me in the sense that we can compete with G7, each and every one of them. But we are yet to know who we are and where our country is. With this small illustration, let me say as follows. First of all, we believe in dignifying the woman as a fundamental fact, as a leading factor in our own manifesto. Women participation in politics, Section 38, is incomplete. It exemplifies exclusion of women proper to itself. That is to say, if we have leadership tomorrow, Section 28 must be revisited. The president, the government tomorrow must be seen to have new bills that will have to be adjusted for them to participate. Secondly, you must have institutions in all the zones that will prepare women leadership in politics. Because women in Nigeria have failed to understand two things. In politics, when things are to be done, you get a woman. But when things are to be said, you get a man. But in any other profession in life, is the reverse of it. Now, the second is that women participation in politics will require them to be armed and to understand the game and to be supported by funds. So unless you have a government that is ready to have these institutions in all the zones to support the women directly with special funds, because there are ways to get that done. And unless this is done, women will continue to waste their time and for them to be deceived. And lastly, women look at politics from that motherhood spirit. Anytime they deceive them during elections, we will do B, C, D. They believe them. And in that motherhood spirit is a forgiving heart. It's the large heart of woman. It's the mother who likes to forgive whenever she comes calling. So don't look at politics that way. They will continue to deceive you. That's why we, in Action Alliance, anything I say and anything I intend to do, we will enter into legal agreement with the women associations across Nigeria to say the entire manifesto, our manifesto and the cry of women from what you presented in 2022, that's the problems of women in Africa and the problems of women in Nigeria. We also are keen in with the 8 points of United Nations. In all your problems, we have keyed in. I'm rushing because of time. That's why I said a topic like this, 7 minutes is inadequate and is unrealistic. I hope if you don't mind, since most of our brothers are not here, time can be added, because that is the life of women. That's the life of a poor woman. That's the life of widows. That's the life of orphans. You have to take this extremely serious, even if it means sleeping here, to sign legal understandings with you. No more jokes, no more deceit. We want new Nigeria. We have been deceived for years. It's a new era. We have to move with the world. We have all it takes to provide leadership to the world and indeed Africa. And if we have to do so, we have to carry women. There must be realism in what we say and what we do. You see, because of want of time, there is so much for me to say. I just scrambled them here, but I realize I have just 1 minute. Important occasion, little time. I'm not complaining, but all I'm saying is we are far from realities. You were deceived, we are pain. We want realism onto you. You have to key in to know what you stand for and what you are going to sign as agreement. Since time is against me, all I want you to do, there are numerous important things. Everybody knows the problems of women in Nigeria. That's all I can say in a nutshell. But every candidate that is worth himself should tell you how he's going to fund you, should tell you the secrecy of wealth creation and doing your project, should enter into legal understanding. When he fails, you take him to court, first as a person, second as a government, third to get it done. These bills can be done. Anything outside this is a deceit, is yesterday's game, you will earn nothing. This environment, this continent, this country has to change. Believe no lies, accept what is real. I'm here because of reality. As far as I'm concerned, I have not even touched what I have. I wish you can listen to what I have, but for want of time, all I can say is I am humble and I am happy that I'm invited here to see your faces and to guarantee you that all keys cannot open all doors for Nigeria's door of life. God bless you. God bless our future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. While he was speaking, the presidential candidate of the SDP, Adebayo Adewale walked in. We want to welcome you. And also the vice presidential candidate of the APC, and the former governor of Borno State, Kashim Shettima, is also with us now. I welcome you, Your Excellency. You're welcome. You're welcome. So without much ado, let me welcome here the presidential candidate of the Young Progressives Party, Ibrahim Abdul Malik.
Good day, ladies, mothers, sisters, daughters. It's an absolute pleasure to be here today. Thank you very much for the invitation from VOW. I come from a unique perspective about what women are to us. You are 50% of our population, and you gave birth to the other 50% of this population. So our job is to nurture you, protect you, and get you on a stage where we can honor you at all times. I don't believe that as a politician we are here to deliver action on what women should do. It should be something we're ingrained to do, to protect our mothers, our sisters, our daughters. I'm not a politician, so I will come directly to what I do best. In every organization that I have started, I have worked in, and including my home, reverence is given to the way the mother raises us, nurtures us, and cares for us. Over 80% of my employees are women. That is a task I have taken very kindly to because I get results. As the presidential candidate of YPP, I think even our women leader will tell you, there is no way you can go in my movement, in my home, in my activities on a daily level where women are not in the fore of everything. So I'm not going to give you some deliberate speech or agreement you must sign. There's a rule I like, and it's a rule you should hold every one of us to. If somebody promises you they're going to do something, make sure they've done it. There's no point anybody giving you this political speech that I will do this, I will sign an agreement and 35% will be women. Have they done it? And if they haven't, then do not believe, because actions speak louder than words. You can sign all the documents you want, but do you believe in what you're signing? When it comes to how women run things, it's very clear that there is that maternal spirit, that nurturing spirit. Nigeria needs that today. The amount of strife, lack of empathy that we see on a daily basis has to stop. Mothers, talk to your children. Daughters, raise good men. There is no excuse for what we see, where women feel that they are neglected, unappreciated. You are what we are. Without you, well, we wouldn't be here. So men, as we sit and try to preach to you that we are going to do certain things. We also realize the value. I think every one of us on this stage realizes the value that you all bring to us, and we honor you for that. I think what is unconscionable is that we're still talking about violence against women as if we are cavemen. It cannot continue to happen. But it's not a unique Nigerian thing. It happens all over the world. Nigeria needs to lead the way in how we present ourselves as men, how we present ourselves as a nation, and how we lead. If we do not take these things seriously, we are going to continue to fall as a nation. Together we rise, and if we don't take care, we will fall together. So I want to promise you that it's not about what you save or what you predict will happen in the future. Is what have you done in your past? How have you reflected that togetherness, that understanding, that comfort in womanhood? And how do you bring it to the fore? How do you give reassurances to you? So please, check, regard what we do, what we've done, and that should be the guideline for you to realize which one of us best suits the kind of Nigeria you want. Which one of them that is on this stage gives you the best value for who you are as a member of this great country. Nigeria needs guidance, and we get it best from our mothers. If we do not present ourselves in that vein, then you are also responsible. You must put our feet to fire and make sure that we deliver as your sons, we deliver as your brothers. Politics is not something I've come into lightly. I've come into it because I believe there is a better Nigeria ahead of us. I believe there's a Nigeria that sees what is best in every single one of us. I believe that that Nigeria requires 50% of your cabinet to be women. I believe that Nigeria also requires that not just a woman as a place setter. We need the best women, because if we pick the wrong woman, it's going to be the wrong kind of message. It will set you back. Look around the world where there's WTO, United Nations, many other agencies. Nigerian women are at the top, and we need to bring that back home. We need to show you at the top of what we do as a country. I don't have much else to say. I'm very grateful for the love that you are all showing us as men, as fathers to your children. But please, we do nothing without you making sure that we do it. If you have to not give us food at home, then do that. If you have to wrap us around the head, then do that. But make sure, come 2023, you are present. You must be present. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you very much to the organizers for this incredible occasion.
Okay, can we have a better round of applause for the presidential candidate of the Young Progressives Party, Ibrahim Abdul Malik. Our presidential candidates, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are now live on Africa Independent Television, AIT. So we'll simply go straight on to our next speaker. I'd like to call on the presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party, Adebayo Adewale Ebenezer, to give us his plans.
Eminent leaders of our society, the Honorable Minister for Women Affairs, the organizers, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great honor to be here to speak to the most important segment of our society. My approach to looking at the issue of women is to look at myself as a product of a woman. And my life has turned to what it is today. And if there's anything that I need to offer, it is because I was fortunate to be raised by women. I lost my father when I was 2 years, 3 months. But the quality that my mother was, and that my grandmother was, and I was so lucky to have my great-grandmother to look after me, I did not know what it meant to be an orphan or what the life of a person who lost his father could have been. And also, I'm the prince of the Ondo kingdom, and in Ondo we are used to women because we are called princes because our kingdom was founded by a woman. I think we are about the only, one of the few kingdoms in the world that the founder was a woman, and we inherited our royalty from the mother side. So I'm used to being under women, listening to women, taking command from women. In fact, this morning I took command from my wife before I could get here. So from a cultural perspective, which we cannot overlook, the culture plays a major role as regards the value, the humanity that we ascribe to women. So with me, you don't have any cultural hangover of superiority to women or looking down on women. That is not my problem. But there are other structural issues. If we approach women as citizens, and we do that very well, most of our problems will be solved. If we approach women as humans, and we do that very well, most of our problems will be solved. But there are so many other ways we can look at women. But what is most important is the legal right. The rights, privileges, and prospects of women in the society should not depend on which government is in power. Should not depend on which politician signs an undertaking. Because under our Constitution, there are guaranteed rights for women. Secondly, the objective condition that you create in a country will determine whether women are going to live to their full potential. I was a United Nations and ECOWAS appointed commissioner in Liberia after the war. And I noticed one thing very clearly. All the people who caused the war, none was a woman. The generals who commanded the war, none was a woman. But most victims of the war were women. And when we came to rebuild that country, most of those who came to contribute to the development and rebuilding of that country were women. So our politics has been fashioned in such a way that men are allowed to go and cause problems, women fall victim of the problem, and women still come back to rebuild what men have destroyed. And once the thing has been rebuilt, the men take over again, we start the cycle. That should stop. So generally speaking, in our country today, we are running on fair way to poverty and insecurity. Who are the worst victims of poverty? It's the women. Because when the men get a job and they are well paid, they have many ways by which they spend their money. But as soon as the man loses his job, the best friend becomes the wife. Because that's the person who now has to look after the family. We have children. When they are suffering from poverty, the men can have many excuses. I've lost my job, what can I do? Women are the only people who have no excuse to give, whether the woman has a job or not. Somehow, she must provide for the family. So a poor society, do the graphics anywhere you want to do it. A poor society means a society where the women are poor. Take the top 10 countries in the world. Take the G7. You can look at it from GDP, GNP, and per capita income. But the most fundamental indices that you will use will be indices that show that their women are not poor. So any country in which the women are not poor, there can be no poverty. Any country in which the women participate in the economy, there can be no poverty. Any women in which the women participate in politics, there can be no poverty. So that is very important for us to observe. But in this country, in the context of Nigeria, everybody you bring out in Nigeria can make this kind of speech I'm making. So why do we make these speeches? And we spoke eloquently when the Nigerian delegation to the Beijing conference in 1995. So when it comes to articulating what the women should be, what they should get, what we should do, we are okay. Why don't we do it? It's simple. The access to power in Nigeria has been two ways: military or election. You know the military. Women are very few there. So when you hear, ladies and gentlemen, there's a coup, The voice will be a masculine voice, will never be a woman. So for many years, women were denied access to power. Secondly, since 1999, that we came back to civil rule, two things have dominated our politics: violence and obscene use of money. Women don't do well in those two vices. So if we want to address participation of women in politics and participation in decision-making, two things we must remove. We must remove violence from politics and cheating. Women are not good cheats. Rarely can you find a woman who says, cut somebody's head off, burn their house down because I want to come to power. Women are not used to that. So we must remove that as an influence in our politics. Secondly, women don't know how to steal obscenely and create a financial empire to control everything. Women want to make their contribution. But if you look at everybody, let us be natural in the way we live our life. When we seek advice, when we seek trust, we go to the women. But when we seek power, we don't give power to the women. So I believe that if we amend our ways, enforce the electoral law very well, enforce the law and have rule of law, women will naturally dominate. I'm an employer of labor, and just like my brother Malik has said, unconsciously, without making any effort, I find out that 90% of my wealth is managed by women. That's why I have no hypertension, and I can afford to leave my work and run for election. The money for running my campaign in different ways.
Thank you. And so, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me also formally welcome our AIT audience to this event, and let me keep you up to speed. What we are doing here today is presenting the voices, the experiences, and contributions of women to our political life. And we are holding our presidential candidates accountable. We actually desiring for them to stand before all of us here. You might have in the hall here probably less than 1,000 women, but I can assure you that more than 100 million eyeballs belonging to women are watching this right now. So far, we have listened to Mr. Peter Obi of Labour Party, YPP have spoken to us, Action Alliance have spoken, and SDP just spoke to us there. That is where we are, if you are just joining us on AIT. My name is Ebere Young, and I have a delectable Amazon here, Jire Kufolu, your own Jire. So your own Jire is also here with us. So now we are on the same page as I welcome here the vice presidential candidate of APC, former governor of Borno State, Alhaji Kashim Shettima.
The Honorable Minister for Women Affairs, the chairperson of this organization, the ladies of Nigeria, the women of Nigeria, it's my singular honor and privilege to stand before you. Although I'm not a prince, the two princes had earlier spoken eloquently, especially the Ebira prince from Okene. The ultimate measure of assessing any society is the way they treat their women. And there is even a saying amongst the Pante people of Ghana: educate a man, you have educated an individual. Educate a woman, you have educated a nation. And my sisters, the most important thing I want to emphasize is that it's easy to talk. But can we walk the talk? That's the million-dollar question. As I have always said, in 2023, we are not preparing for the Olympics, but an institution that relies. We are not preparing for the Olympics, but an institution that relies on the superiority of ideas and track records to show. And what are our track records? Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu was the first governor in Nigeria to appoint a woman as his deputy governor. When he finished his term, his 2 terms as the governor of Lagos State, he was given the opportunity to come to the Senate, but he said, no, I won't come. I would rather send a woman to represent the constituency of Lagos Central, which is the most largest and the most vital of all the senatorial zones in Lagos. These are established track records that you can take us to task on. Why is the first female chief judge in Nigeria hails from? Who appointed the first female chief judge in Nigeria? These are pertinent questions that I want you to scrutinize. 12 years ago, when I became the governor of Borno State, I appointed 5 female commissioners. 25% of my commissioners were women. Dr. Asabe Bilita Bashir, the current director of the Women Development Center, was in my first cabinet. So also was Dr. Zainab Gimba. Zainab Gimba is currently the member of the House of Reps representing Bama, Dikwa, Kala-Belge Federal constituency. So also was Dr. Selma Anas Kolo, my Commissioner of Health, and Mrs. Inna Galadima, the Commissioner for Women Affairs. So an Ashwaju administration will be a government that will be friendly to our women. Most importantly, they are the backbone of our society. They constitute over 50% of our total population. So, due to paucity of time, I will be very brief in my remarks. And if Nigeria is to reach its fullest potential, we must give every person and segment of the population a fair chance to make their best contributions to the well-being and betterment of our nation. The growth of our economy and the achievement of our national destiny rests on equity and the safeguarding of the fundamental rights and decency in our society. This means ending all forms of invidious biases, including, most especially, gender discrimination. Equity and fairness to women will be a top priority of the Tinubu administration. We shall establish the following programs and policies, and you can take us to task, to promote more female inclusion in politics and governance. 1, social inclusion and political empowerment. 2, economic empowerment, whereby commercial banks will be encouraged, will be compelled to support women-owned businesses nationwide through the use of concessionary loan and incentive schemes. And of course, fighting domestic violence and abuse. Educational parity, and helping the most disadvantaged in our society. My sisters, unless the women folk of Nigeria are suffering from Stockholm syndrome, Ashwaju is married to the same woman for the past 40 years. There are some of the candidates who see women as tools of pleasure, as chattels to be discarded every cycle to be replaced by a new lady. Unless the women of Nigeria have lost their senses or suffer from Stockholm syndrome, I see no reason why. When you have seen a winning team, and what matters is not the geography of our places of worship, no. What matters is the competence, is the quality, is the track record of our presidential candidates. I want to commend my younger brother here. He's a very brilliant, very eloquent young man. But I believe that experience is not something that you can buy in the marketplace. We have garnered the experience, we have garnered the track record of excellence and achievement. And my sisters, there are two functions taking place simultaneously here. The governor of Kano is launching a book, but I said no. I have to come and honor our sisters, our mothers, before going to honor the governor of Kano State. That goes to show our commitment to our women, to our mothers, to our sisters, to our wives. And you can hold us responsible. We are ready to sign any document because our word is our bond. I crave your indulgence to take my leave to go and appreciate the governor of Kano State. Beyond that, you can count on us. We are one of you, and you are one of us. Thank you so much.
The vice presidential candidate of the APC, former governor of Borno State, Alhaji Kashim Shettima. Thank you very much. Thank you. It's not on. The mic is not on.
Use the microphone. Yes, thank you very much, Saz. Before you came in, we had presented the womanifesto, What Nigerian Women Want. And we want to also present that again. So publicly, you had said that you are ready to sign. You had said that you are committed to women. So we want to, Chair, please, you can join me. We want to present it to you once again, formally. Women, please, can you stand up? Please stand up. This is a presentation we are doing jointly. We are doing this jointly to all the presidential candidates. Honorable Minister, man. Don't come now. A bit. Okay. So these are the promises of women and the demands of women. Okay. I will recognize also the representative of the First Lady. You are welcome, ma'am. You can. Okay. INEC is also here. Please, a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you. This is important to us. This is what Nigerian women want. This is the Nigerian Women's Womanifesto. So this is our demand. It's our charter of demand. There are about 5 or 6 points of demand there. We will hold you accountable to it. And we encourage you that as you go in your campaign, you speak about us. And that's why we are presenting this to you today. Thank you very much.
Now all the political parties with INEC and the office of the First Lady, we're all on the same page. The same agreement binds all of us as we begin to respect and honor the value of women in our society. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, before I bring on Her Excellency, the Minister for Women Affairs and the representative of the First Lady, let me invite here, representing the INEC National Chairman, the INEC National Commissioner, Mrs. May Agbamuche Mbu.